What's going on, people? We're back for another episode with our Give Back TV. We've started these new series, and we obviously had our first one with JC Performance Training. We've got another set of guys that are into the whole football. We're keeping on this theme for now, but like I say, there'll be other subjects and different people with different businesses. But again, a couple of good friends of mine. I've known them for years, and we're going to get into another chat and just kind of see the background of their journey and whatnot into where they are. So welcome to Mo and Matt, both from Virtu Academy. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, cheers, man. Thank you. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
So like I say, it's just going to be initially just starting to see what your background is in football, and then we'll kind of work through your journey, just because the purpose of these little episodes is really to see the people like behind the brand, as we're kind of calling this type of thing, just to see, because everyone sees maybe the success, and obviously you guys have got a big presence in Instagram and just on socials and whatnot, whether you realise it or not. I guess, do you realise it? Is probably a question, because obviously you're on the inside, so you might not realise.
Personally, I don't.
No, do you know what, right? I don't really look at Instagram and go, oh wow, like we're doing bits. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes you just need to hear that recognition. It's good to hear that recognition to see how well you actually are doing.
Yeah. I hadn't even really thought about it until I actually started asking that question, because obviously, like I obviously see your stuff as a follower, and obviously I know you lot personally, but I know people talk about your thing. I know like people, there's like a buzz around the little academy and whatnot that you've got going on. So yeah, I guess you guys internally wouldn't necessarily know that. You obviously speak to your clientele and maybe just people that you know and whatnot, but you're not really seeing it from the outside view. So yeah, I'm telling you now. You got a little buzz going on. So
listen, I'll tell you what, right? I'm buzzing to hear that. Yeah, if I could jump up and down right now, I would, because it's just an amazing thing to hear, because that's the whole idea from the start. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? For sure. To show people what we're doing.
Good. So like I say, people will see what I see, and they'll see obviously like the football side of things, but they don't necessarily know the people behind it. So that's what we're trying to just have this chat with, and just give people an insight into the journey. So initially, football obviously is the main topic here. How did you, Mo, initially get into football? Was you playing? I know you're a goalkeeper, right?
Yep.
Always been a goalkeeper?
Yeah, always been a goalkeeper. I had a short spell where I wanted to play as an outfielder. It wasn't really for me, and we obviously learnt that from early, because manager goes around. We had no goalkeeper at the time, so I was that lad that I want to be a striker, and then obviously it never worked out like that because I couldn't score goals.
Why do keepers always want to be strikers? I don't know what they do.
Do you know what, right? I just saw it. I forgot. I think at a young age, I was like, oh my word, I want to be in that spotlight of scoring goals. And I just couldn't do it. So as the manager went round, it was more or less like, Mo, can you go and goal? I think the first time I went in goal, I just took a shine to it. And it was like something that just clicked for me straight away. Yeah.
You get that same feeling, like, obviously, I don't know if you ever got to score a goal or anything in a game, but like, even me as a defender, if I make a big tackle, like, just so I know stop the goal, I'm buzzing. I feel like I scored a goal. Yeah. Like, you've affected the game in the same way. So, like, the keeper, especially, has that a big responsibility. You make a big save, you're buzzing. Your team's coming congratulating you, well done. Like, you can't really get that same energy all around the pitch.
I think that was the biggest thing. Like, I went in goal for the first time, and I made that save, right? It was like that save. I didn't know what I was doing. This is the most unorthodox save you can ever make. Do you know what I mean? I can't remember exactly, but it was just unorthodox. I've had no training whatsoever. And the boys, we had a massive amount of energy in our group. Yeah. So the boys can't say, oh, whoa, what a save. And you're like buzzing. Do you know what I mean? And that feeling, I didn't want that feeling to go away. So I thought, this is the position for me.
Yeah. Nice.
Just stayed there ever since.
Good. So what age was that?
I got into football probably about 8, 9. I would consider myself as getting into football quite late.
Yeah, maybe.
Some don't.
A lot of people have different journeys. But
yeah.
8. I don't know.
That's quite early.
Listen,
it sounds early to me.
Yeah.
I probably wasn't really bothered about it then, but yeah.
I just look at like a lot of footballers starting at like 7, maybe 6 now from what I'm seeing. Okay. Like obviously quite recently in the last few years.
2 years is a big difference to you there. That's late.
Do you know what, right? Do you know what? I could have had them other 2 years of development. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Very early, getting on the ball a little bit more and stuff like that, and just being a bit more comfortable. But it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? I went in at 9. I'm pretty sure it was 9. And yeah, I loved it ever since.
Just on that, like, I think, and this is from maybe a coaching perspective or whatnot, I think that age, you can learn a lot at 6, 7 and maybe have an advantage. But at the same time, I think that's the time and the age that you just need to be enjoying it. that's when you can kind of get your love for football. Like just that initial, whether it's you, obviously you've worked out this is the position I like in gold for the energy of it or whatever. Like you just got to find that kind of love for it and enjoy it, rather than it being like a task and maybe coaches getting on to you about not doing this right, not doing that right. Like you kind of got to let them have fun a bit and then kind of ease your way into, okay, this is now how you should do this and that. Blah, blah, blah. So
definitely, man.
100%.
Like definitely. I think I agree with that. Massive statement, because 7, 8, 9, those are the ages where if you don't enjoy it, earlier and later on in the future end up hating it.
Yeah.
And like kids have to at these early ages build a passion for this sport. So listen, if you go score a goal, if you make a save, if you put in a big challenge, whatever you do, you should be celebrating, you should be buzzing, you should enjoy that feeling, and that feeling shouldn't be taken away from you.
Agreed.
So I'm saying, so
it shows if people don't like. You know if there's someone that doesn't really care about this. And you know what's annoying when you see the really good players that are like that, but they don't have that love for it. They're like, I'm good, but I don't even care. Like they don't. You just can't see the same passion in it because it's just too easy for them almost. So
we've had this conversation before, haven't we? The kids, we noticed the kids that progress and develop the most are the ones that have found their own love for the game. It's not the ones that mum and dad are bringing them constantly, taking them to 3, 4, 5 different training sessions a week with various different organisations or coaches, whatever it is. It's the kids that love it for themselves are the ones that develop and progress the most.
You've got to build that love and passion. You've got to find it yourself. It's something, you can't be forced to love something. And I think we all know that. So they have to, like me, I'm like massive on energy, so they have to feel that buzz. Like, I feel like they need to feel that buzz, you know what I mean? And you've got to help them either see that buzz, create that buzz for them, do you know what I mean? And that's how slowly their love and their passion build. So let them be kids. That's it. That's the simplest way you can put it. Let them be kids.
Let them be kids.
Do you know what I mean?
Let them play football. But if little Bobby wakes up on a Sunday morning and says, I want to go out on my skateboard today, let him go out on his skateboard if he wants to go out on his skateboard. Don't be the parent that's, no, you're going to football. Because if you carry on like that, you're just going to force them to eventually fall out of love with it.
I mean, that's what I was going to get onto. Obviously, I can tell you've had experience with this, but what I was going to say is that obviously you would have come across parents that have got that kind of pushy side to them, and they're like trying to. And do you know what? Like, it's bad because at the end of the day, the way football is now, the money that's involved in football, a lot of parents are seeing their kids as, that's my retirement plan. Or like they're gonna be a footballer, make loads of money, look after me. So you seeing that kind of energy from parents that you're dealing with. I'm not to call out names. Not obviously we all come across different characters, whether it's on the pitch or the parents.
I think you just see it. Like you see it all the time now. People are starting to understand that football is a money. It's becoming big with money. Do you know what I mean? It's a business. So people are starting to see that, and I think what we try and do sometimes is create like these environments to take it away from the money. You shouldn't be thinking about that, but just like take your child somewhere where they could just develop. Do you know what I mean? Enjoy the game. Like the thought process shouldn't be about where they're going to be in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, especially at them young ages. Like I just don't understand it because they've got the whole world and this whole future for you to see where they're going to go. Do you know what I mean? It may not be right for them now if you want them to go play a high level of football, but it may be right in 3-4 years' time. You just don't know, but there's no point. There's no shortcut.
No.
Like, do you know what I mean? There's no shortcut to that, and you can't buy that. Like, it's do you know what I mean? That it comes from love and passion.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? Like, because if I'm honest, I mean, I didn't know if you was into football like that or if you used to play or whatever. So yeah, let me hear your background.
I think for me is my probably you think that because my playing career it cut short really. It got started, it was good, but then it just. Well, after I got released by Reading, I never really got back into it.
Okay, so you skipped even the part of being involved in Reading.
Oh, so we're going right back.
We're talking from 8 years old on.
Oh, 8 years old. So I was like Mo. Yeah, I was a late one.
Okay.
Probably started playing at 8 or 9.
Yeah, late one. There we go. Yeah.
Okay, my first team, my dad started taking me to play for Westwood Wanderers, and I was playing for them. Done quite good. Obviously, done all my primary school years with them. Moved into the secondary school, Prospect. Then got selected to go and play for Reading Schoolboys.
Okay, yeah.
Playing for Reading Schoolboys on the Friday night at Palmer Park. Got picked up by Brendan when he was managing Reading Academy at the time.
Rogers, yeah?
Yep. Okay. Yep, got picked up by Brendan. And then done all my teenage years from like 13 through till 16 with the academy. And then I got the call one afternoon. Basically, got called up to the stadium and it was them releasing me. They was obviously whittling it down, getting ready players to come in for the YTS schemes, and I didn't quite make the cut. And for me personally, I took that quite hard. Being a 16-year-old boy, all my friends were at the club because all my teenage years was football. So I took it quite hard. So I sort of fell out of love with the game for a little bit, to be honest with you. And then I missed those key years when you really develop from a boy into a man, sort of the 18, 19, 20, 21 years. Yeah. When players that I was probably better than at the time, then when I come back into the game, they're much better than me. Yeah. Much better than me. Yeah. And it's going to happen because I missed those key years of development. So I kind of fell out of it, love for it for a little bit, and I just flitted around a few clubs, like non-league clubs, and then some Sunday clubs, and eventually children come along, houses, mortgages, etc. Life goes on sort of thing. But now I'm back into the coaching side of it and loving it.
Okay, so, I mean, it's interesting, a very interesting point that you make about that age period. Because in reality, a lot of the boys get to that age, and that is the age that they're getting released. Like, there was a TV program I mentioned on BBC that was, like, in the last couple of weeks. And it was focusing on, like, a lot of guys that have been released from, like, academies and whatnot and how that's affected them. Obviously, in reality, it pretty much got to affect them all in the same way. Like, their life, even if for a certain amount of years, has been football. Like, they've started to believe I'm going to be a footballer, regardless of what might actually happen. Like, they're thinking this is my career path, and at an early age that gets cut off, and then they think their world's finished. They think it's done. Yeah. And like you say, if you fall out of love with it and you don't think, okay, cool, like maybe I need to drop down to a lower league or try and continue my journey in a different way, then you are going to miss those important years where you do go from a boy to a man. Yeah. And even academy players that play within that system is quite fake in the sense that everyone is generally technically good, and like probably the physicality and stuff that you get in like a normal men's game is nowhere near what it is in that level. No. So if you go from even academy player to a non-league team, your head would be spinning. Like we've had young boys that come and play in the team that I play in, and like they just like, I'll speak to them like as an older person in the team, and I'll be like, how do you feel about that game? And they're like, oh, it's just so quick, like the pace of it's quick, and it's just obviously like it's physical tackles and whatnot. So like you can't really get that even at any level realistically within academies. You can't really get that experience almost until you're actually in a men's game. So it's interesting that you mentioned that transitional phase, because it's got to be tough for kids, man. It's got to be tough for kids. So. It's got to be tough for kids. But again, if you haven't got that love for it that we're talking about from early, then when you get a knockback like that, you're not going to continue because the love's not there. It's just I was just doing it just to do it, or you know the motive might be for money or whatever, and then you just do something else. Like you say, you start a business, or start working, start a life, and then it goes down a different route. It goes a different route,
exactly. Yeah, but you do see some of these stories about a player might have went to 4 or 5 different clubs and been told no, you're not good enough. But it'd be the 6th club that tells him yes, you're good enough, and then all of a sudden his career kicks on. So,
but again, it's that passion that's instilled in them to keep going, keep going with
that desire, that persistence, and perseverance.
It needs to come from the player or the child or the individual themselves. It can't come from mum and dad, or it can't come from people outside. It's got to be the player themselves. It's got to have that hunger.
100%. I mean, obviously, like mum and dads do have a big impact in them, because they might have to be the person that's taking them to all the different clubs and whatnot. So there's obviously positives of having a supportive parent if that's what you want to do. Like that, I think that's probably the key. If that is what the kid's joy is and that's their passion, and the parents are there supporting it and helping them to achieve it, then great. But if it's not their passion and they're doing it because their parents want them to do it, then that's when it can get sticky.
It's not going to work out.
That's when it can get sticky.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. Okay, so that's your journey. That's interesting to hear. Again, like I said, I've known you for years. I didn't even know all of that myself. And obviously, we've heard your kind of early journey. How did you then progress into, like, as you got older?
So I think, like, as I got older, right, I spent, like, heavy time. Obviously, I was in grassroots football, and then I really, at a young age, like, lacked confidence massively. Like, it was a massive thing for me. So, minute I started becoming a goalkeeper, parents got me goalkeeper training. Do you know what I mean? I said I really want to do that. I want to I want to go forward with that. So went forward with that. And
sorry, just to jump in, but that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Like, you found your passion in that as a goalkeeper, and then boom, your parents are there to support it. Like, and that's the way it should be.
What any good parent would do.
Yeah,
support your child's
But
dreams.
I think the one thing my parents done was they never said, "Oh well, because we've seen a talent within you as a goalkeeper, we're gonna make you do goalkeeping." They threw the decision in my hands, and then I turned around and said, "Look, Mum, like I want to train to be a goalkeeper. Like, so can you help me out with this one?" And that's when they sent me obviously to my first goalkeeper coach, right? And that was brilliant. And I started working my way up like that. Got to about 11, 10. And then I had my first spell at Reading. And that was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Went to Reading, spent about 3-4 seasons there. And then obviously got released once again.
Similar situation.
It's
happens to so many.
Yeah, it was a nasty situation, to be honest with you. I think the biggest thing is it's just that mental impact. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't. You don't get set up for them difficult conversations, but you move forward with that. So that happened, but I had the pleasure of like working with some really good coaches. Do you know what I mean? And when I came out of that environment, it was like, what do I do now? I want to continue. I want to keep going in football. What do I do now? So I went back into grassroots football, then took a journey, got on the phone to a coach that I knew. He was running like this scholarship program, sort of based around Marlow area. So he said, look, come down here, Mo. Obviously, I'll support you from here and stuff like that. We'll see what we can do. And that's when it got interesting, because then I went up to, we played a game against Chesterfield pre-season. Then I went up there. They offered me a trial. It was like a 6-weeker. Went up there. Then I obviously signed for them. And it was obviously playing around. They were just building under-20s, under 23s. So I was playing around there. Stayed there for about a season or two. And then once again, woke up one day, manager got sacked, new manager came in. Didn't like, like you could say face didn't fit, or he was just looking for something a bit different in a few players, obviously not just myself. So it just changed really quickly and drastically. Do you know what I mean? Was it a great experience for me up there? Yeah, it was brilliant. It was probably the highest level of football I say that I've played, because it was sort of under 23s level, playing sort of Cat 2, I think at the time. So it was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? But decision got made.
Like you say though, you know, like it's a good point that the whole football world is fast moving. It's fast moving, it's cutthroat, and it can change in a split second like that. Like you say, as it could be not as simple, because it's not a simple thing, but as deep as a manager being sacked on the day, and then tomorrow everyone comes in the training, everything's different. So it's like it's to be involved in football at a really high level is an anxious career, because things can change so quickly, and you have to be mentally prepared for that. You have to be mentally prepared to be dropped at any point, at any given time, whether it's just you're dropped and you're not playing in the team for whatever reason, or you're dropped and you're now not involved in this club. Like, some people are not built for that. So
I also think, like, obviously, like, to touch on that, like, I also think when that stage happened where I came out the door at Reading, I think that I always say it was the coaches around me at the time that built me up to be the player that I was. So I had a strong, influential coach that focused a lot on me as a goalkeeper mentally, and that wasn't within Reading, that was outside Reading. So mentally, he built my confidence. He gave me that persistence, that desire, that hunger to go that whatever bad situation happens, do you know what I mean? Take that negative and turn it into a positive. So straight away, I had that hunger to go, what's next?
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? And
that was after leaving Reading. That was after that system.
After being out of that system. But I just think for me, it was different things that happened within my life, footballing wise, that sort of built me up to have all these like little attributes that gave me the hunger. Do you know what I mean? I think from a young age, football was quite competitive. People, I had a lot. You get younger kids at your age that be like, oh, you're not that great, so I don't want you in my team, or you're not that good, or vice versa. And all them little things added in with what I was getting from my coaches as well, was just building me, creating that sort of can-do spirit to go, I can do this. Like, I'm going to prove everyone wrong, and then do that. And obviously when it came to the time, I just wanted to persevere with it. So
it's
It was
good that
alright.
you actually got that support, like, after coming out of that system, because a lot of people don't. Did you find you felt
No,
any support?
I didn't feel like I had any support at all.
Yeah, and
I was
that's,
just
that tends
pushed to the side, sort of thing.
yeah, that tends to be the case in the majority of the situations, which is bad because, yeah, like, if you have got the right support, obviously someone that cares, whether it's a coach or someone in the backroom staff at a club that can be dedicated to actually helping people make that transition, it could be a different life after that. Because that kind of mental trauma from that situation as a young kid can really affect them in life going forward. And anything they do, go on to do.
Sure.
So yeah, it's savage. It's savage, but probably something that hopefully they're addressing on different
I
scales.
feel like they need to, man. Like they need to on a mental aspect. Like how much support can you actually say is done for, regardless of whatever reason, if you find a better player or whatever it is, for players that get released out of that system, their whole life may be only football. All they've ever known is football.
Usually the case.
Yeah.
So,
Usually the
like,
case.
what do you actually do to support them as they come out of that system? And I think that more does need to be done.
I think it's fair to say that mental health is a big subject now. I think they're showing a lot of, like, respect to it, in the sense of it's a real thing and people need to pay attention to it and address it and try and combat it in some way. So I think that's helping to make clubs specifically realise that people need support in these situations. So that's good, and from what I can see at different places, they seem to be trying to do bits. So that's good. That's good. I mean, as coaches, yourself, myself, or anyone else that works with kids and different age groups, obviously you've seen how important it is to help build someone's confidence or build their resilience and whatnot for these type of situations. So I think that's an important point to take away from this part of the conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
For sure. All right. So obviously we've talking about the coaches and how they've affected you. Was that then your reason for transitioning into the coaching side that you do now?
Yeah, I think massively. Like, I think I always looked at like football. You could call it academy football or whatever type, any level of football. I just looked at that mental side, and I thought that is a massive thing for me. Looking at that right now, if you could give that support to a young person and build them up, have that same level of support I had, building my confidence, showing me that anything's achievable, showing me that I can do it if I believe I can do it. That self-belief.
You knew how it felt.
I knew how it felt, and I knew how it felt. And that it's all these little things that eventually like come together. They add in, and then they create your own mindset to go, wow, now this is what I want to do. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's that. There's no better feeling than that. Do you know what I mean? So
it's the same as like with the football. Obviously, you've kind of found your love for football, and then okay, like this is the kind of feeling that I want to enjoy again and again and again. So and then you find that joy in coaching or whatever, and again for the right reasons, organically, for the good motives. I want to enjoy this again. I want to keep doing this. I want to affect the kids in my community. I want to affect anyone that I'm working with, and whether it's colleagues and whatnot, just help build them up. So I'm sure that's been part of your journey as well. So yeah, I mean, everything just feels very organic from what I'm hearing from you guys. So that's good. That's good.
Man.
So
yeah, that's what we like, mate. That's what we like to hear.
Feeling you with praises and that. I'm going to cool up a little bit. So I want to obviously get into how Virtu kind of started and how you've progressed into that. So how did that? Was it a thought process? Talk me through that.
I think when I talk about Virtue, right, okay, so how do I start this? When the initial idea came about, it took a lot of thinking. It wasn't just like, wake up tomorrow, Virtue Academy is going to be starting tomorrow in the park. Yeah. It wasn't like that. It was a thought process behind it. Why is it's a football academy, but do we just want it to be just a football academy that just brings young people through the door and sends them back out? Do you know what I mean? And I looked at it and thought, no, we don't want it to be that, because I'm taking everything that I faced, like we said, as a young player, and I want to bring it into that same energy, that same level of a buzz when a player walks through and they're working with us, they're in our environments, that buzz, that energy, that building that sort of that mentality within them to go, you can do anything. Do you know what I mean? So that's how it sort of came across. It was always going to be, when I started thinking about all these things, the first word that come to mind was energy. Yeah, and then obviously achieve, and then I was thinking about the two, and then we created a hashtag called Achieve Anything. Do you know what I mean? And that sort of sticks by us. But the energy side of things is just that buzz, creating that buzz. So for me, I just wanted it to be a different football academy from several other football academies that you see and stuff like it. It has its own unique space and what it offers.
Love that.
And the kids definitely buy into it.
Yeah, the kids 100%.
They love it. Like, they're just glued to you. They're literally fixated on what you're telling them, sort of thing. And it's a nice feeling because you know you're giving or having a positive impact on this child's life, basically.
Yeah. So what that makes me think of is, obviously, I know you. I don't know if I knew you before or not, but obviously we had the kick sessions that we used to run through. And whatnot. So like that, what you're talking about there reminds me of that energy that we had with the kick session we used to do. We used to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday nights. Friday nights was probably the main nights that a lot of people in West Reading and then in Whitley especially, which is the sessions that we ran, they would come, and obviously it would be football based. We'd put on little sessions for them and just play, but it was just the energy of it. It was like a youth club realistically, but we're kind of playing football, and it was deeper than football. It was like energy. It was the energy that you're talking about. So that was what it was kind of providing. So yours sounds like almost a step up from just being a place to, because in reality the whole point of that kicks thing nationwide, because it wasn't just in Reading, was to kind of target predominantly deprived areas where certain crime might be going on as well. So especially on a Friday night, it would be specifically at a time where maybe you'd get like peak crime and whatnot, and it was taking kids off the street rather than just sitting on the corner doing nothing. They were coming into a session just being productive, whether it's just football, just being together and just keeping them occupied. So it was good energy, and that was kind of the main focus of that. What you're talking about seems like a mix of maybe that, not necessarily keeping them off the streets or such, but just giving them that good energy, somewhere positive to congregate, but really developing them as players.
I think that's the massive, that's the two massive things to put together. Like, it is that environment where they can come in. Do you know what I mean? They can develop as young people. So what I try to sort of bring it across as is they're not just coming in to develop as young footballers. They're coming in to develop as young people.
I notice your use of young people.
Yeah, so because I think that's a massive thing. Eventually, even if they don't become footballers, right? Because football is, we know what it's like, right? We know how slim the chances are. So for me, if they go into the world, they know that regardless if it's football, if it's going into an office, if it's running your own business, if it's like setting up this or setting up that, you have the self-belief that you can do that, and you have that you build that passion for whatever you're doing, and that love and everything we've just spoke about. Do you know what I mean? You build all of that and you take it into everything that you do within your life.
What's the hashtag?
Achieve anything. So there you go then. There you go. So, but I think also, like, a lot of players come into us, and I love it when we get comments and feedback saying that we give them a level of info as well from a footballing perspective, sort of helping them like see the game in different ways. Do you know what I mean? With how we coach, how we like sort of talk to players, and just so there's loads of these different elements that come into it. Do you know what I mean? And that's, I think, what makes us Virtu Academy.
Yeah, good.
Elite, an elite academy.
This is what makes people, things, businesses, or whatever elite, is just having that different type of focus that not everybody's doing, and maybe not everyone focuses on, and you just have like a certain niche. And I guess that focus of, okay, we're focused on football, we're working on them, but we're looking to develop you as people. That probably seems to be your standout characteristic, should I say, maybe even as a brand, and that's what I'm taking from this, and it's great to hear. It's great to hear, because that's very important, and that is what I'd say would make you guys stand out. And obviously you see the reaction you get and the feedback you get, whatever, from the people, the kids that are there, and the parents obviously that see it. So yeah, that is these little organic things that make things successful. And you might not have put too much thought into it, and it just might be natural to you. That's great, but they're the organic things that can make you stand out and make you keep doing and progressing in the way that you are. People can try and buy that, people can try and ask someone how to do it and whatnot, but like, if you haven't naturally got like that kind of personality trait, realistically, because that's what drives it, then you're not gonna do it well. And you guys are just doing it naturally well. So
I think that's why it's been a success so far, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it has.
We're not overworking it. We're not overthinking it.
Yeah, you don't have to.
It's just ideas. I'll be quite driving around in the van. Idea pops into my head. Mo, what do you think about this idea for a training session? Boom, boom, boom.
And I think like like what you were going to say there, I'll just touch on that because it's brilliant. Like, because our team, we've got, obviously there's at the moment like 6 of us, you could say, and we're a big team. Like, we talk constantly, we communicate. Like Matty just said it there, like we just bounce ideas off each other, like
Pretty much, yeah.
and it just keeps flowing like a cycle, and it's just brilliant. Like, you want to develop them, but we want players to come in and feel like this is a platform for you to push on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You want to go to that next level. Yeah. You want to raise the bar. You want to raise the standards. This and that. Come in, put in the work, right, with us. Feel the buzz, and go to that next level.
And I think as well. Sorry, I was going to say. I think as well as the players or the people, we're also challenging each other.
We are big time.
So this is what
to make ourselves better.
This is what I was going to get on. That's my point. Is that, like, obviously it's so important to have the right people around you to make this thing a success. You've got to have the right personality traits that I mentioned. So, like, even finding the people to work with you is a good thing.
Yeah, we're not. I mean, we will have like Teams calls and stuff like that, or after the sessions and the kids have gone home on a Friday, we'll have like a little debrief, and you know, quite frequently we'll challenge each other and say that didn't work. That didn't work. We need to do this better next time.
We have to.
It's we're constantly trying to push an elite environment for children or people to come into, and we're conscious that the sessions we put on are what it says on the tin, basically. Because if it's not, it's a failure.
You've got to have that honesty to just keep going.
Sorry, I'm smiling because I'm smiling right because where Matty just said we challenge each other. There's a few names that I was thinking that I think, oh, should I call them out? Because there's a few. I think there's a few names. There's a few names of coaches that are very challenging. What I mean by that is, like, I love it because once again we're creating the energy within ourselves to go. We want this to be so decent. We want this to be so good that whenever kids walk through the door, we know what we're delivering is going to give them that push if they come and put in the work. And it's good, like Matty just said, it's good to challenge each other.
You're talking about calling them out as if it's a bad thing. That I know, I'm sure, no doubt, your conversations maybe get heated and you get onto each other. But at the end of the day, that is what we're saying is needed. So I want you. Matter of fact, all I want you to actually let us know is who are now involved as your coaches. So list off who your coaches are, because we're talking about like this challenge and stuff as if it's negative. It's not.
No,
it's not at all.
It's all love.
It's a positive. It's a positive. But I just want to be aware of who you've actually got that are working for you now.
So, like, obviously, building the team, like, you want people to come in that sort of have, I wouldn't say been around the game, but they feed off the same energy that you have. Do you know what I mean? And they can sort of add to that. So, so we've got obviously myself, Matty, we've got Brian Gale. Do you know what I mean? Who's been around the game for ages. On sort of a grassroots level, he's got obviously a lad at Reading who's sort of climbed the ranks, and it's brilliant to see. He's a great little player.
Stuff on the inside of an academy, like, because they're evolving a lot.
Yeah,
so
and I think he's seen a lot of it. So, like, it's brilliant from that perspective. Sort of us. We've got obviously Paul Maskai, who's sort of played heavy career in football. Do you know what I mean? Brilliant player. And his coaching background, very like energetic, very like buzzy, loud character, which is brilliant. He gets the kids buzzing, man. He's just he's a loud character.
Stop babying.
Yeah, stop babying. That's his saying.
That's his thing.
So,
stop babying.
And then obviously we got Charlie Deadfield. Obviously Charlie's one of our youngest coaches, but people don't actually realise sort of how old he actually is, just because of his maturity levels and the way that he acts. Do you know what I mean? And he manages a group so well.
How old is he?
Charlie's 16.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So he's at a stage where he just takes a session and leads it so well. And parents have come to us so many times and been like, "Oh man, like Charlie's a really good coach. Like, what? How old is he?" And we're like, "He's 16." He's like, "Oh my god, we thought he was 18." Do you know what I mean? Or like 19. So it's brilliant. And then obviously Simeon Howe, who is like obviously had a quite respected career within football. Do you know what I mean? I think we all know that big names and big names and stuff like that. And then there's always been, like, I think I would like to say, people in the background where I've gone to them for advice because I don't want people to. I'm not the person with the plan. Do you know what I mean? And I like to get ideas. So I've spoken to Kelvin, obviously. aka known as Gumza, a few times, do you know what I mean, regarding stuff. Greg Denny, So these are all like people that just like
draw information
and try and come in and be a part of this. Do you know what I mean? To help it grow. And I think we're all on the same page.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's brilliant.
That's good. So your clientele and your kind of basis of people that you work with, how did that start? How has that grown? Like how do you combat that? How do you address that?
Like in terms of like how big is
like how have they initially come to you? Is it from your socials, or have you been promoting yourself, or how? Because you've got quite a lot of people that you work with, right? So
I think
they didn't just come out of the blue. So
I think Virtu. So like Virtu Academy is very new still. So it like we've not even been running for a year. Do you know what I mean? It started in the lockdown. So even through a lockdown, we only really started at John Medeski Academy, like sort of about 3-4 months ago. Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, and it's quite new, and we were always trying to figure out ways to like sort of keep our sessions running, but vice versa. That like we started off with I remember we turned up to one night and we had probably about 5 players in each group, 6 players in each group, one
small,
group.
Yeah.
It was very small, and you just had little numbers like twiddling in and stuff like that, and that eventually each week grew and grew and grew, and that was probably from the socials. Do you know what I mean? That was probably from, I think the massive thing was word of mouth.
Yeah,
it was like massive. I think we get messages like, "Oh, Mo, I've spoken. I'm so and so's dad. Can my brother-in-law come down or something like that? His little name's Jack." And it started growing like that, and it just kept growing like that, and that eventually progressed to like 40 kids on a Friday. Do you know what I mean? And it's packed, and now
parking on out on the street, car parks
Shut
jammed
down
up,
and
security's
just
going mad. Move the cars,
move the car,
yeah.
and the security guards coming out going, move the cars. But no, it's like, and now we're like looking at creating, like we're trying to sort of look at, we could create another night, or it's like creating a waiting list, because we want to try and keep quality. So we're not gonna, this is not a money making scheme for us. So it's not like taking 15 kids and just run a session. We'll take your money and you go home. It's more or less like we're going to cut the groups at 10 or 12 max to keep the quality. This is our 12 for these phases, and obviously if that changes in the future, then we'd obviously let you know.
The word of mouth thing, I mean, that's a big thing that I respect, because that's obviously testament to what you guys are doing. Like, people don't go to a session that's bad and they say, "Oh yeah, you should take your son to this session because my son goes there and it's really bad." Like, it's obviously good, and they say, "Yeah, come along, these guys are doing good things." So again, you have to take your flowers for that. Like, that's kudos, because it doesn't always work like that. A lot of businesses in this type of field or whatever don't get that word of mouth, and they have to rely on promoting it and whatnot in other ways. So keep that up, because obviously that's giving you this problem, if you want to call it that, expansion. And how do we combat that? So, I mean, you kind of touched on it briefly. You're thinking maybe adding different days. Is that maybe what you'd want to do?
Yeah, like just like obviously where we spoke about keeping the quality, you want boys to constantly get challenged. So for me, it's like to have players in the right group, so they're constantly getting challenged. You may have a set of players that need to develop. They may be very new to football. Yeah. So you're now creating the opportunity for everyone. And I think that's a massive goal. Like, you don't want to ever have a little one come in and have to reject them football. Do you know what I mean? You want to be able to offer them that, because they may have that same desire and passion that I had at 7, or Matty had at 7 or 8 or whenever. And you take that away from them. Do you know what I mean? You want to be able to give them that opportunity. So, yes, we initially set out to be an elite academy, and we've got that elite night now, haven't we? We've got that elite Friday where our elite players come in and they're working to a level. But now, let's try and create development. Like, let's try and create an opportunity for more players to come and see how we work and work with us. Do you know what I mean? And build like
the
that.
Summer camps and the day camps and the Easter camps, they was a big success, weren't they?
They were, yeah, man.
I know, taking my boy to them, he loved them. He loved them, being there for football day. The weather's nice.
And the parents are going to love that as well. Obviously, they're looking for
free
things
time for the parents and stuff like that. Yeah,
it's tough for parents when they got that time, whether they're working or not or whatever. Like, they have to keep their kids occupied during those holiday periods. And whatnot. So them situations are perfect for it. So yeah, it's a great option to kind of capitalise from. So other than that, you say your main night is a Friday, then and that's at JMA. Yeah,
so we've got a Friday and a Monday. Friday are for age groups 7 to 10. Okay. So you could say, not 7 to 10, 6 to 10. And then the Mondays go from 11 to 16
Okay.
at the moment. So the Mondays started probably about 2 weeks ago.
And what's your time?
So they're all both 6 till 7:30 at John Madacey Academy School within Reading. So it's growing like constantly, and it's brilliant to see. It's like amazing to see. And like for me, like if anything for me, I just want to like I'm grateful that we're I looked at it. I always look at it, and we're like such a good team. Like these guys are.
I actually know
quality.
all of your team realistically.
Yeah, these guys are quality. Like
I know they're all good people. Like so, again, that is the key to having something successful as well. Because cool, you can start and try and be great on your own, but if you really want to be great and have longevity and expand, you need a good team around you. You can't just do everything on your own. So you need people around you. So yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see.
Super Matty, man. That's the one, mate. That's the one. Have the kids buzzing on a Friday constantly, mate. I was taking notes the other day. I was like, what? He said, so Matty on last Friday said to me, come over to my pitch, Mario. Oh, you've got to see this. And that's what I was saying. Like, it's that energetic, like, buzz, like, oh my, what's going on in this pitch? All right, let's go and have a look. And you just see these players string like 4, 5, 6 passes. And you're like moving your head, right? And we normally have someone that comes and records a bit of footage. So like I had to do that job on the Friday because that person was away. So I thought I'd get in and do a bit of footage, like a bit of recording and stuff. I'm moving and I'm like, I can't see the balls moving and I'm having to move. And it's
sweeping in like the drone cam. You know when that thing comes hovering over the pitch, that's like move his iPhone.
And it's brilliant. But that's what I'm saying. It's brilliant because you're seeing growth.
That's it.
Like you're seeing growth. You're seeing you're seeing players that came in at a certain stage and now they've developed. Yeah. We say like even if they can walk away, we said it before. Even if they can walk away and develop that 1%, that's massive. Like don't take that away. So it's brilliant. That's where they achieve anything. You've achieved.
Yeah.
That's the fun side of coaching for me, is seeing the kids put into practice an idea that I've shown them.
Yeah,
We've literally just spent, take today for example, I've done 3 good sessions with my team, which is a combination of Cold Ash players and players that I've taken from Virtu. Mm-hmm. We've done 2 particularly good sessions on Tuesday, Thursday and Friday. Go out today and we play, and you're seeing those passages of play that we've worked on. For me, that's what it's all about.
That's it. Like you say, that's where you can see the benefit of what you're doing. On the pitch, obviously you can see it, but there's other stuff going off the pitch. Yeah. But at the same time, that doesn't stop even at a young age. No. And I say that because even today, like obviously Give Back, we've got our Sunday team. We've got 2 now that are running now. I was at our first team's game, and after the game, a guy come from the other side. He's literally come over to the other side of the pitch. Said, "You guys are great." Yeah. So like you, the way you play is like so good. You've obviously been coached really well, and I'm like, yeah,
cool. That's all about.
We'll take credit for that.
Take it.
Do you know what? All right, cheers for that, mate.
Over there, like yes, well, but it's like you getting your flowers for what you're doing, what you're achieving. Because a lot of them players from a year ago and a bit maybe when we started Give Back, the players weren't playing the way that they play now. Like we've given them an identity in the way, like them passages of play. Like we really focus on that. So when you actually see it in a game, and you're like, this is good.
Wow, this is decent to see. It's just that it's a buzz. It's just a massive buzz.
Obviously, you
just want to jump out like. I just like most of the times, right? The kids will know me. They'll renown me as being that just a crazy person, because they'll do something like. And this is why I think we're all different in the way that we work as coaches. And we even said the other day, it's really important to be different as coaches. Do you know what I mean with what we offer? Because, like for instance, I know with myself, if I've got little Jack, just a random name here, who bangs a goal, flying in top bins. Do you know what I mean? I'm doing a Conte down the sideline of the pitch, do you know what I mean? Knees sliding everything myself. Like I'm jumping up going, I'm like, yes. And that's brilliant. And I think for them, they turn around and see that level of like excitement, and then it flicks the switch in them, and it's like, oh my word, like this is decent. I've just done something well. I used to come across a lot of coaches, and they would just one of their players would do something brilliantly, and they would just sit off the sideline and just be like, well done, they give them a thumbs up. Now, that may be your way of coaching, but for me, what I've seen is when you give them that level of energy, they give it back, and it's that response. For sure. Do you know what I mean?
Adds to the enjoyment of it. Like whether you start with that enjoyment from young, you've got to keep that going all the way through. So obviously that's something that you guys focus on. I think that's probably the thing that I take away from this conversation with you, that is Virtue's kind of part of your brand, and like just encouraging that growth. And obviously we talked about, I think just to wrap up the episode, I think the main thing is that energy thing that you really talk about, because it's just ultimately it's positive, whether it's football related or whether it's just building you as a person. That energy that you can give that person can really affect them going forward in whatever way. Like, so, yeah, I think you just got to keep doing what you're doing. And I've said before that to stand out, you have to have something different. And I think if you guys just keep focusing on that, keep focusing on working on them as a person outside of football and whatnot, and just keep giving them that positive energy, because they're getting a lot of negative energy no doubt from outside influences and whatnot. Yeah. You're gonna go far. So thanks for coming and having a chat with me.
Appreciate that.
No worries, that was good.
No, it was
good fun.
It's going to be a lot more chats with different people, and I'm picking up different bits. And like I said before, I really, it's just key. If anybody out there is looking to do anything similar to this, whether it's in football or any other field, just be really. You have to pay attention to little things, and maybe little things that people aren't doing in your same field, to make sure that you can fill in that little gap, and little organic things that suit you and your personality, that will come naturally to you, that will make you stand out. So I think that's probably the main takeaway from this episode. But again, thanks to the Virtu boys. The team and the rest of the guys that are not here. Maybe I'll get some of the others in at another point.
Yeah, get us all in, mate. You need a second room, mate. Expand this.
Yeah. Get the cameras down to JMA on a Friday.
Exactly. So thanks again. Obviously, if you haven't got them on socials, what's your app?
So we're Virtu Academy with an underscore. So it's literally spelt VIRTU. And then Academy with an underscore.
Okay. All right.
And that's predominantly all our socials. Obviously, Instagram, that one.
Yeah.
So definitely. And obviously, we've got our programs 6 to 16-year-olds. So we're always looking for sort of more players to get involved.
Cool.
And come and join.
Well, we'll tag them up. Obviously, we'll get this shared on our socials. And obviously, like and subscribe. And we'll be back with another episode of another good chat with some more friends of ours, no doubt. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back soon.